Okay, I think we're at a place where the first wave of free agency is officially over, and I'm comfortable talking about who signed with what team. So we're going to break this down division by division, starting with the AFC East and the Buffalo Bills. What's going on, guys? Dick Support here, back to another video. And as I just mentioned, we're going to review free agency, well, the first wave of free agency. There's still some moving pieces, and things are bound to change as these videos get uploaded, so I will try my best to update things as they go along. But, as I mentioned, we're starting with the Buffalo Bills in the AFC East. Spoiler alert, Buffalo and Miami both had rough off-seasons. And just one more thing, guys, I'm going to be looking down at my notebook from time to time just because I tried doing it without looking at it, and it didn't go well, so I'm just going to do that. Alright, with Buffalo, like I mentioned, they had a rough offseason. They lost a good amount of their free agents, and they had to cut some people. Mitch Morse was one of the hard cap casualties for them, so was Tim Settle. They also lost Micah Hyde, Jordan Phillips. Well, Micah Hyde and Phillips are still free agents, but they haven't been re-signed by the team just yet. Gabe Davis is gone. I mean, he was big for them in the playoffs, and their other safety, Jordan Poyer, is also gone. They lost a lot of depth pieces and guys that just made an impact on that team. They did sign Curtis Samuel to replace Gabe Davis, and we'll see how that works out. They signed Mitchell Trubisky to back up Josh Allen. They also re-signed Leonard Floyd, Daquan Jones, and AJ Espinoza on the defense, but there's still work that needs to be done, and I didn't even mention Tre'Davious White was also cut. So they need help in that secondary. Both their starting safeties and one of their starting corners, expect them to go defensive back in the draft early. And I would also see what's going to happen at wide receiver because there's still questions on whether Stefon Diggs is going to be with this team either this season, next season. We don't know what the long-term future is going to be with Stefon Diggs, and we did see him kind of slow down in the second half of the season. So could he be on the downside of his career? It's a fair question to ask. Let's move on to Miami. As much as Buffalo lost, Miami lost even more, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Christian Wilkins, Andrew Van Ginkel, they had to cut Emmanuel Agbar and Xavier Howard. Oh, not to mention they also had to cut Jerome Baker. Oh, on the offensive side, they lost Robert Hunt. Hunt and Wilkins both signed $100 million contracts. That's a lot that Miami lost. Now, they still have Tua, they still have their top two receivers, and they were able to re-sign Rasheed Morris, also got Isaiah Wynn re-signed, and they signed guys like Kendall Fuller, Jordan Brooks, Jonnu Smith, and Shaquille Barrett. That should help a little bit, but with Miami, they really need to look at reloading this team. Because like I mentioned, they lost a lot, especially on the defensive side of the ball. They still have Jalen Ramsey. Look for them to get another corner. Their two pass rushers are coming off of injury, and you know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about Jalen Phillips and Bradley Chubb. Look for them to get a depth piece with edge rusher. I know they got Barrett. Look for them to get another one. And really try their best to replace Christian Wilkins. That's going to be a big piece in the middle of that defense, but we'll see how that goes. And they lost two of their linebackers. That should be another one. Really, with Miami and Buffalo, things are wide open in the AFC East right now. Let's move on to the Patriots. With New England, Bill Belichick is no longer the head coach, and they had their worst season since before Belichick got there. That's how bad New England's season was last year, and that's why they're picking third overall. Now, Mac Jones, he is no longer the quarterback. He's gone. In comes Jacoby Brissett. Now, we'll see if they draft a quarterback with the third overall pick. Could depend on who's available and who's already off the board. More on that in my draft preview. Now, they also lost Trent Brown. He went to the Bengals. Mac Wilson's also gone. Mike Gesicki's gone, and they traded Devontae Parker to the Eagles. Now, they were able to get KJ Osborne from the Vikings, and linebacker Shaheed Taki from the Browns. Antonio Gibson is coming in from the Commanders. That's a good piece to have. Antonio Gibson is an all-around back. He can run, he can catch, and they re-signed a couple of their guys as well, especially offensive lineman Mike Onwenu. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong. And like I mentioned, for New England, they have to figure out what the future holds for this team. Yes, quarterback is the big position, but they need to make sure they get talent and they get long-term pieces for this team. Because what good is a rookie quarterback if you don't have the long-term plan installed? And like I said, they could go quarterback with 3rd overall, or we could see the Vikings make the trade with New England to get one of the top 3 quarterbacks. It could happen. But I'm willing to bet they get a quarterback with that 3rd overall pick. So, like I said, New England, make sure you have a plan. Make sure you have the pieces in place to make sure that this quarterback is your long-term answer and not another Mac Jones. Now, with all the questions surrounding the other 3 teams in the AFC East, the Jets, it seems like it could be their year to win the AFC East. Aaron Rodgers is coming back from a torn Achilles. Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson are bona fide stars in this offense. And they signed guys like Tyron Smith. They signed Mike Williams from the Chargers. Tyrod Taylor is going to be there for their backup. Javon Kinlaw, that could pay off big for them. He's a former first-round pick that never found his footing with the 49ers, but that could pay off big in this defense. And John Simpson from the Ravens, he really was able to save his career with the Ravens this year, so maybe that could work out and help rebuild his offensive line, because the Jets, they need it. They also re-signed punter Thomas Morstead, but they did lose guys like Quentin Jefferson, Carl Lawson, Dwayne Brown, but he was getting up there in age. Lincoln Tomlinson was getting up there in age. Mekhi Becton was injury prone. Jordan Whitehead, that is the big loss for them. That was one of their best players in the defense, but that's something that they could replace in the draft. We'll see what happens there. But really, for the Jets, it was all about getting the pieces for Aaron Rodgers to make sure that he doesn't get hurt again and to make sure that this offense doesn't hold them back. I think they've done a good job of that, but we're only going to know when the season starts. So my overall thoughts with the AFC East. Well, Miami and Buffalo really have a lot to do if they want to get back to the playoffs. I mean, they lost a lot of pieces, and for Buffalo, they could still lose even more. For the Jets, they did exactly what they wanted to do. Would I call them favorites in the AFC East? I wouldn't go that far just yet. And for New England, as long as they take positive steps in 2024, I think a lot of their fans are going to be happy, especially if they get their long-term answer at quarterback. Alright guys, those were my thoughts on the AFC East through free agency. Next up is the NFC East, and I will see you guys next time.